Hey, welcome to the OSHA Compliance Help Show. I am your host, Sheldon Primus. This is coming from the Safety Consultant podcast and everything else that I do. So this is the show where I help you be OSHA compliant by answering some questions for you. And then maybe you could, win a bet from a friend. Do something that I'll be happy to help you out with any of those things. So as you're watching me now, go ahead and get your questions and comments ready. You could type in the questions that you may have on the chat box and wherever you're listening to me on right now. So go ahead and do that. I'm on a bunch of networks right now. So I'm on YouTube, 2 channels, which is the OSHA Compliance Help channel and the Safety Consultant US channel, on Twitch, on LinkedIn, on 4 Facebook groups, and 4 Facebook pages, 1 Facebook group. So truly you have your pick of how you're going to get to me, and I'll be able to help you out with that one. I do have a big hello. Miss Paris, how are you doing? Hopefully everything's doing well for you. So that is awesome. Thank you for joining me. I was very, very glad to see that one. So again, if you have any questions, any comments, go ahead and type that in the chat box. What I'm going to do for you today, since and this is pretty much just happening. I mean, just happening. I was watching the news, and it looks like Senate Leader Mitch McConnell currently has go ahead and said that Joe Biden and Kamala Harris is President-elect and Vice President-elect. So with that formal announcement, I'm thinking that maybe I'm going to, I think maybe what that's going to mean is I'm going to go back to some of their statements that they said before, and meaning Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. So morning, Steele. How are you doing? Hopefully everything's all right. So I am going to go ahead and show you guys, and let me put in the chat box for you. So I'm going to copy this, put it in the chat wherever you're listening to me right now. Check the chat box. You're going to see something from me. This is me reaching out to you, giving you a touch. So it's funny, on my end, I get to see all my chats populate in all different places that I'm sending this to you. So this is actually from the Biden plan, and this is the Biden plan that I'm about to show you. This is going to be pretty much what I would expect. Some of the things that they're going to be looking out for. So I'm going to share this to you. What you want to do is, once you get to this link, scroll all the way down, and it's going to be towards the end. You'll see where it says Increase Workplace Safety and Health. I read it. It is not as much of a plan as it is an indictment. I've got to tell you that. So let me go ahead and read what it has over here. And this is probably going to help you. Actually, I put it in a Word doc, which might be even easier for me to read. So I'm going to switch over to my Word doc. You guys are watching it on the screen, but I'm reading this from my Word doc. Increasing workplace safety and health. No one should get sick, injured, or die simply because they want to work. Every worker has the right to return home, work safely, but Trump has attempted to weaken several occupational safety and health regulations established during the Obama-Biden administration. For example, he has rolled back regulatory requirements requiring companies to report their workplace injuries so they are disclosed to the public. He removed the restriction online to speed up pork plants, making meatpacking jobs even more dangerous. He reduced the number of occupational safety and health investigators, safety enforcement efforts, despite the fact that OSHA inspectors reduce injuries. As president, and this is, I guess, the policy part, Biden will reinstate these critical safety protections and ensure appointment to committees and advisory boards under OSHA's intimately understanding the consequences of not having functional safety standards in place. He will direct OSHA to substantially expand its enforcement efforts. He will increase the numbers of investigators in OSHA and MSHA. He'll also direct OSHA, the U.S. Department of Agriculture, MSHA, and other related agencies to develop comprehensive strategies for addressing most dangerous hazards workers encounter in the modern workplace. So I read it all to you there. This is where it is. If you were to click on that link, that's where you're going to find everything there. I think Tamara has something in there. Tasha's telling me thanks for sharing. Did not get anything over LinkedIn, so LinkedIn did not show up. But what you're going to be looking for is you're going to be looking for joebiden.com/empower workers. joebiden.com/empower workers. And that's where you're going to find this one. So once you go through that, and again, I showed you in the beginning of that, I'm going to stop my sharing over here, but in the beginning of that, you did see, kind of editorializing, maybe that's the way to put it. It was an indictment, if you will, of the current administration through that plan. However, the back half of it is really what we'll have to look out for, because this is telling me that we're going to go back to what we're seeing from when Dr. Michaels was the head of OSHA before, and Dr. Michaels is part of the Biden team right now that is looking through all these things to add to what OSHA is going to do. So not only do I believe that we're going back into regulation, more regulation, I actually believe that some of those things that I showed you in earlier episodes on the unified agenda, you really should start looking at that again because of those words and the mindset behind it. So again, if you have any questions, OSHA compliance questions, I'm going to answer those right up front. That's what I do. I'm an OSHA compliance specialist. I'm still an active safety consultant, so that's really what I do. If you have any OSHA questions, put them in there. OSHA questions, construction. I'm not that great on maritime, so I got to be honest, but I do know some of it. And then also, I do have a few other things, construction, general industry, and everything else. Have you compared this to what other countries are also doing? Good question. So when you're thinking on the global side, there's a bunch of regulation on the global network. So when you are looking at any kind of global comparison, OSHA to them, in many nations, they kind of see OSHA, it depends. Let's say in a few different ways. If we're thinking first world nations, such as EU, and I'm saying first world in its traditional sense, not in a sense of being derogatory in any way, but just in a traditional sense by the gross GPD, the gross production, then they look at OSHA comparably. So the EU does have its own system. They are very, very, very stringent in their system, and OSHA is far less stringent than they are. So to some of the other entities that are in the same level as first world classification, OSHA is far less as far as stringent on businesses. And man, I wish I remembered the act right now for that the EU been using. But truly, in their determination, when I say stringent, employers can actually go to jail for gross negligence. And if you are a coworker that your actions caused the death or serious physical harm of someone you're working with, you can be personally liable in that as well. So if you want to find out a little bit more of that, thanks. I like that word, developed. Excellent. We'll go with developed. so we don't have to go with the traditional wording that we had over there. But I had an episode of my podcast with Blair Boyd, and he's with IOSH, and very strong Scottish accent, so you'll have to go through that. But as we were talking about U.S. versus international, and IOSH is one of those international organizations, they were telling a lot about OSHA's. Yeah, we're okay, but we're not as stringent and forceful in our in the way that we apply the laws for worker safety. Now, in the undeveloped world, what we're looking at is OSHA becomes almost like a guidance to them. So they're actually looking at OSHA saying, let's seek to get to this level. And when I do any international work, usually it's in the Caribbean. And just for instance, I work in Jamaica quite a bit. So whenever I'm there, I teach them principles of OSHA compliance, but they can't actually get OSHA cards. That's not something that I could do there. However, they are now moving towards or away from what they have as Factories Act from 1929, I believe. They're going into their own Jamaica OSHA. And that Jamaica OSHA Act is going to be pretty good. So that is one of the things we've got. So, are you thinking about the EU Framework Directive and get our directive number there? I believe that is it. Unfortunately, I cannot remember. On the Canada side, are you on the BC side? If you're on the BC side, WorkSafe BC's got some pretty good. I don't understand WorkSafe BC. I'll have to tell you this, because British Columbia, in my understanding, WorkSafe BC, it regulates, but then it also has insurance. So I don't know if those two things have a conflict of interest in some way. I'm not too sure. If you're in British Columbia, Tamara, please let me know. But yeah, I don't understand that one as much. So I'll have to get that in there. But I am very much into the international safety and health. But on our side, it looks like you really need to start going to the occupational safety and health page. Ontario side, so you're on the other side. I've been there. I've been to Ontario. I actually have business that I work over there. So every once in a while, I'm over the border, and I'm in Windsor. So whenever I'm in Windsor next, I'm gonna have to check you out. Got Scott stepping in, or excuse me, Rick. Why am I saying Scott, Rick? That's my bad. So my bad on that one. So Rick says, I've been a safety engineer for 22 years now. These face coverings are worthless. Half the people don't even cover their noses. The other half don't know or have been educated on how to don the respirator and cover their eyes. Most susceptible to what's that? Contagion? I might have to ask that one, because I'm not too good on that one. And you are so right with most people not knowing how to protect their respiratory system. I breathe through my mouth and my nose. How about you? So therefore, you do need to train the workers on that one. European Agency for Safety and Health at Work. We do have a website there for OSHA Europa.eu/N. So thank you so much for the help. Awesome. That looks like a Steele over there. Thank you, Mr. Steele, for helping me out. Anything contagious. Thank you. Thank you. So that's truly when you're thinking about epidemiology, and for us, we're thinking of industrial hygiene. We're always told about the modes of entry. So the modes of entry is going to be for what we're understanding now with COVID-19 or SARS-CoV-2, which is the virus that causes COVID-19. It looks like it's inhalation hazards. And if they're telling me to make sure I don't rub my eyes or anything if I have an active virus on my hands, then we're also thinking that that mode of entry is going to be absorption. I haven't heard anything about ingestion, which is good. Imagine that. Wow, what would life be like if the SARS-CoV-2 could be ingested? I don't know if there's any reports on that either. But truly, if you're thinking, what is OSHA going to do in the future regarding COVID-19? I would imagine right now the easiest path for them to go through would be to follow up with Cal OSHA and take Cal OSHA's plan. But there's a few states right now that are actually doing their own state plan version of this. So I would imagine that what OSHA is going to need to do is they're actually going to, in order to do an emergency order, they might even look at the Commonwealth of Virginia. They've got a good one out there. So they might want to grab Virginia's. They might want to grab a few other states that are actually going beyond federal OSHA. So I would imagine if you could get a hold of some of those and start looking at that, that would probably be what we're going to see with federal OSHA. So I'm going to show you something real quick. Thanks everyone for chiming in. If you have any questions on OSHA compliance, go ahead and type that in while you get the chance, while I'm going to share my screen one more time with you. And I want to look at the unified agenda. So actually, I better share my screen this way. I'm going to go ahead and share it and show you how to find this at the same time. All right, so if you're looking at this, what you're going to start seeing is my pathway to find the unified agenda. I did mention this before previously, but I believe right now would be a good time to go back and really see what laws are in waiting. So there's two ways of seeing pretty much the pathways for laws to become what they are. One is going to be your preambles to your final rules. You could go through all the preambles and you could see some of the comment periods and everything else. That's one way. The other way that you want to see what's coming up is going to be right here with the regulatory agenda. It's exiting out. Sometimes it doesn't exit you out. Sometimes it's right there listed. But you're going to look at this over here first. The agency, we're looking for OSHA under the Department of Labor. I'll let you guys look at that real quick while I take a sip of water. All right. So let's see what we have here. And I explained this again before, but if you haven't seen my live streams before, you wouldn't know this. Pre-rule stages is roughly around 2 years away in normal course of action. So in normal course of action, emergency response, mechanical power press, workplace violence and healthcare, social assistance, blood level for removal, blood lead level for medical removal, that is roughly 2 years away. Proposed rules are usually right around the 18-month mark. And I learned this from Steve Hawking, where he's the director of Tennessee OSHA, TOSHA. So Steve has told me this a couple of times before when I did work in Tennessee. So in this proposed rule stage, usually it's about 18 months away from becoming law. So all these things that you see listed over here, they're on their way. So if you have powered industrial trucks, HAZCOM, tree care, if you do that, these are things that are on the way. They're coming. In a Biden-Harris administration, I would think that they're probably going to start prioritizing which one of these things will go, or they're going to get them pushed. So I know for sure you will probably see one of the first things is that COVID emergency standard coming out. After that, then they're probably going to go through, remember that last part of the sentence that I read out of that Biden-Harris plan? They're going to get MSHA, OSHA, Department of Ag together. They're all going to figure out some sort of priority and to prioritize what's coming up first. So if that's the case, then the next thing I'm going to be looking for is that I'm going to be looking for that document to come out. So as soon as that document comes out, you will then know how to start planning for your safety system. So that's the next thing I'm going to be kind of keeping my eye out is what's that agenda. And the best way to do that, use Google for this. Let me stop sharing real quick. So, and I got a couple of things in the chat. I see that. Great. I'm going to get to the chat as well. Awesome. You chat people. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. You guys are doing excellent. Thanks for all the questions in the chat. Keep it coming. So, Tamara, I see a few out there that I'm going to get to. And then I have another one that's coming up a question that's a really great one, too. So let's finish the thought, though. If you're going to try to keep up with news, the best way to do it is use Google. Do a Google alert for certain keywords. So I'm going to now put in a Google alert just so I could find out when these agencies from this strategic plan, MSHA, OSHA, Department of Ag, they're coming together and they're going to address most dangerous hazards workplace encounters in a modern workplace. I am going to go ahead and put in a search for those things, and I want to do it in a Boolean search, quotes. Put the words OSHA in quotes in a Google alert, or the words MSHA in quotes in a Google alert. And now when there's any news mention of these agencies, it's going to come back to you. So when these agencies meet, you want that recommendation as soon as it can so you could protect your safety system. All right, back to the chats. It's Our Profession is meant to be a resource to share knowledge about how to protect against risk, and the workforce is not understanding how to wear and look after masks. Would this not be an indicator of our side not being clear on the intention of the mask? And I would say yes. And it also goes a little bit further. So what happens is, what we're seeing is people that aren't looking at safety the same way we are. We're in a bubble of safety and health. We get safety and health from everyone in our circle almost, or we're giving that information. There's a lot of people who were owners of businesses. They never really had a safety person. They had a business of 7, 10, 8 workers or something, and they didn't really think of safety and health procedures. They're not hiring consultants to go out there. They're just looking at the news and doing the best they can. For those people, they really need to have some sort of outreach that probably should have came from OSHA. And OSHA has several things available to them, but how do they know to get to it? So then what that means is only information they're going to end up getting is through friends and families and maybe an association that they belong to, a restaurant association, a farmers association, something like that is going to hand out that information. So that means us in the profession, it would behoove us to kind of reach out to these organizations as much. So if we could reach out to those organizations, then now they get the word from safety professionals, and it makes truly something that we should probably do as a future. How can you know when I go live in the future? I go live Tuesdays and Thursdays every week. Holiday coming, I may not be able to go live on Thursday, the week of Christmas, but what I'll do is I'll probably go Tuesday and Wednesday that week. But I always do lives Tuesdays and Thursdays, 11 a.m., wherever you're seeing me now. That's my live time. And if I'm working or I have an active client or I'm teaching, then I'll do it in the evening, and I'll let you guys know in my on my LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitch, all the other feeds. I'll be able to put that up as well. So we did have another mention about your face mask and covering. Another thing that we may have to look out for face mask and everything is the regulation side. OSHA is really clear about the regulation. They want to make sure that if you are going to require a face mask, which is a disposable respirator, aka something similar to an N95 or anything that's in the respirator family, now you're going to end up having to go into the respiratory regulation in Subpart I in 1910, and you're going to end up having to make sure that your workers understand everything that they need to know about that respirator. So it goes right back to what Rick was saying. if you, as the safety professional, are allowing workers to go ahead and put this thing on and they don't understand not only how to put it on, but they don't understand the way to clean it. If you're using, let's say you're using a P100 type filter or half face, full face respirator, they have to know how to take care of that thing. And that might even be better than the N95 because truly with your canisters, you could use that a few more times. There's a whole bunch of other things. Face coverings, on the other hand, they're a different category. So OSHA's not going to ask you to do the same type of protection for someone with a face covering because, and the training should still be there. If you're putting anything on a person and you're considering it PPE, they got to know why. They got to be trained on that. So that's truly one of the things that you as a safety professional have to delineate between them. Face covering. Face mask. This face mask over here is also a disposable respirator or a respirator. You now need to go to a different level of understanding. If it's a respirator, we're going to have to start doing fit testing, especially if now we're saying this is a requirement. OSHA's been citing people on that one too. That is one of the big things they've been citing on, actually, is the respiratory protection and record keeping. They've been citing on those regarding COVID-19. Again, if you have any questions, go ahead and put that in the comment section. I'm going to answer your questions live as best as I can. I even got this guy over here for your construction questions. I remember most of it, but just in case. And I got my general industry one hanging around there too. So got those two. If you need an OSHA compliance question answered, here I am. If you want to just win a bet, you can win a bet too. Go ahead. Throw it in. Let's see if we can answer that. Help you win a bet. I'm good with that. All right. I'm going to go back to the chat. Let's see. I think I got a lot cleared out. I'm kind of scrolling back to make sure that I did not miss anything. We so far talked about international, which I love. International is really good for me. One of my next goals in life is I want to go ahead and get my ISO certification. There's a new ISO certification out there that I believe it's a management one for... it's an international management one, but it's a little different than 45001. It just came out, and I wish I remember the number. Anyone remember the number? Throw it in there. But it's a new ISO, kind of like 45001, but it's a little twist on the management side, and I really wish I remember that one for you guys, but I do not. All right, while we're still here, I usually try to keep my lives right around that 30 to 40 minute mark, so we're getting right around there. I will do more if I get more and more questions. I have to always look over to my LinkedIn because some people send me messages and it only comes through LinkedIn, so I'm not too sure why that happens. So I'm going to check that out too. Facebook and Twitch, I kind of see you guys right away. So for some reason, some of the LinkedIn questions don't always come. I do get a few. That's why I was able to answer some live, but every once in a while I get a few that don't. So I'm checking real quick. It does not look like I have any on that side, so I am good on that. So if you have any other OSHA compliance questions, let me know. If you have some questions on record keeping, I'm good on record keeping as well. If you have some questions that you need to add or directions as to what might be a safety sound thing. Not only am I in the room, we do have some safety professionals that are listening here too. So maybe through all of us, we could put our heads together and help you out with this one. So that's good. You see the scroll on the bottom. I am doing an OSHA Compliance Live Masterclass over there. So if you do have a chance and you are thinking of doing an OSHA Compliance Masterclass to help you with the upcoming administration that's going to add to some more regulation, then go ahead and you go to sheldonprimus.com/events and you could sign up for that one. I believe early bird is still there, or you could go to the ViewStub page itself, sign up for that. I'm going to put that in the chat. And that's going to help you whenever the new administration comes out and you're going to end up having to be compliant with OSHA. I have truly been dedicating my career to it, as well as I am still a live OSHA compliance consultant. So I do represent people to OSHA. So whenever I sit out there and I try to get, fines reduced and everything, I got to know what I'm doing, right? So I'm passing all that information out to you. So that's what we're going to do there. All right. I am seeing no more comments. So I think we are good to go. Thank you, everybody, for hanging out with me. This was actually pretty fun. You can go ahead and this is my music that I use in my podcast. So if you had a chance to go to the podcast, go ahead wherever you listen to podcasts. Go ahead and do Safety Consultant with Sheldon Primus, and that's where you're going to find the podcast. So thank you, everybody. I really appreciate you. Tuesday and Thursday every week, 11 o'clock. Get your questions to me with Sheldon at sheldonprimus.com. You could get your questions to me on Facebook. Get your questions to me on LinkedIn, on Twitch, and I'll answer those questions as best as I can. If you get them to me earlier, you can even look them up. That's okay. I don't mind doing it live. It's fun doing it live. So go ahead and help me out. I'll help you out. That's the way this thing works, right? We'll be helping each other. So thank you, everyone. And I will be back. Bye. Check it one more time. All right. See y'all. I don't see anything else, so I think I'm good. Great rest of the day.